order the Transportation Advisory Committee meeting for September 11th, 2025. Can we get a roll call?
Yes, Mr. Rendelman.
Here.
Mr. Freeze.
Present.
Ms. Wadsworth.
Here.
Mr. Simmons.
Present.
Mr. Morgan.
Here.
Alrighty, we have approval of the prior minutes.
We do not have any minutes.
That's what I was looking at. I didn't see any, so, okay. On to our agenda analysis. Is there anything that anybody wants to add or subtract from the agenda for today? If not, we will just continue on forward. And being that I don't see anybody in the crowd, I'm assuming we do not have any public comments. All right. So we will move on to our general business and start with our membership terms for December 31st, 2025, and the people who would need to reapply, or if we have any new membership interviews.
Yeah, so the interviews are scheduled for November, and Jen, Mayor, Chris, and Raymond. Raymond has applied. Thank you. And then the other two, you have until October 24th to get into the November interviews.
Okay.
We could always interview after that point, but to get the mayor to do it January, we want to do it in November if possible. Which also made me wonder if we need to review the date. So I know that we're all scheduled for every second Thursday, but because they're interviews, I just want to confirm everybody's able to come.
November 13th.
That's listed. So you can want us to come in, what, at 5?
5:45 usually.
Oh, 5:45.
Or maybe 5:40, usually it depends on
Yeah.
how many people.
I'm good on that date, so
Okay.
no issues for me.
Excellent. Let's see here, it's jumping ahead here. And then if anybody has other interests in the board and committee, that's also open. The next topic are the interview questions.
It looks like 1 through 6 we've left alone, and then we've made some additions on 7.
Yeah, well, I guess I didn't actually bring what was redlined from the last meeting, and I could
Okay.
bring it up, but I retyped them, so if you want to review it on, like, just let me know if you want to correct anything, you can. But those were the ones that were determined okay. It was number 7 that you wanted to clarify land use and transportation, because nobody really knows quite how to explain it. So the first 2 are in blue because they were what I had submitted with the packet. And then Dana had added a few more right before I headed out here. So I just wanted to kind of note those differences in case you read them and now that you see they're new.
Are we wanting to ask all 5 of those, like under 7, or is that,
Replace that one.
so one of those 5 would replace number 7?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was hoping for, but wanted to double check.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll make it bigger for you.
All right, do we want to read through these and see which one we think is the most effective way to replace that? So, at times there are projects that affect land use. Do you have experience with that? If not, what do you think it would be involved? Summarize what the TAC does. Ask the person if they know the purpose of TAC, and if they do not, what do they think the TAC does? How do you think transportation infrastructure like roads, transit, and bike facilities shape the way people live, work, and move around the community? In your view, what's the relationship between where people live and how they get around? And what role do you think transportation plays in making a community more livable and connected?
My preference would be 3 or 5 for the bullet points.
And I was gonna say 3 stood out to me.
Three stood out for me, but I could live with 5.
Any other opinions on those?
I like 1 if we specify transportation projects that affect land use. It's a little bit vague, or not having as much to do with TAC if we don't specify.
And I think that's why I like
Transportation projects.
3 so much, is it kind of gives you a little bit of guidance as to what we're specifically talking about.
Sure.
Did Dana write that one?
That's what I thought. Yeah, I thought 3 wrapped in 1 and 2 kind of.
So, I don't know if we need a motion, but I would suggest that we use 3. Is there any opposition to that?
No. No opposition.
Let's use bullet point 3 as our new question number 7.
And so at the next, so when you meet again in November, these are the questions that we're gonna have
Yep.
prepared.
Perfect. Any other clarification we needed on that? Perfect. That is on November 13th.
Yes.
All right. Right into the Public Works report, and I assume that's gonna be Dan.
That looks familiar.
Yes, all right, so a little update on Holcomb Safe Routes to School. I think we're just down to a few minor punch list items. So these are a few of the, finished corridor photos. So I think for now, I think the pavement that's out there is the pavement that will be there. I think the Sears Farm project has completed their paving and the city's completed our paving. I think maybe last meeting, there was some questions about the paving limits. And so what's out there is kind of what the corridor is gonna look like moving forward. I think there's some minor punch list cleanup items for the project, but in general, it's complete.
One little punch list item that I noticed is you're coming down the hill. The 35-mile-an-hour sign coming out of the school is like about 100 yards from the school. And the flashing beacons, maybe another 300 yards down the hill. So if there ever was a time that we had an enforcement situation going on down there, your 20-mile-an-hour is about 300 yards away from your 35-mile-an-hour sign. So they're not synced up. But I think that's probably an easy fix.
Actually, they don't have a into-school zone going.
Yeah, which is what
Westbound.
I was looking
Yeah.
for, and then I noticed the 35 was here, and then the actual flashing beacon the other direction is about 300 yards down the hill.
So technically, you're in an infinite school zone, all the way to Redland Road.
I can check.
Okay,
I believe posting of a 35 acts
reestablish
as
it.
the
Yeah,
end
that
of
was
the
my
school
concern.
zone, but,
Well,
we'll
couldn't
double
they just
check.
put a, below that, put a, in the school zone? Like, you know, the little rectangle type sign?
I can check. We have to be careful about combining too many signs
Well,
on
it's on the
one
same pole.
post.
That way we'll get to the end.
So I'll check on that.
Cool. Other than that, looks great.
Or they could have, put a polish finish on the other side, so it manages the pavement on the other side. Like a seal it, maybe?
I can check. I don't know if it's scheduled or not. We've generally scheduled those kind of paving projects out 5 and 6 years. I think we just did some work on Holcomb. I think we did a chip seal. I could probably look it up, probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, because the other side got a lot of digging on it. I mean, they did
Yeah.
patch it, but there for a while it was pretty rough. Obviously, the south, or the westbound lane, you know, is much better, because it's got all new asphalt, and they took quite a few of the humps out of there. And the
All right.
signs do work. They weren't working for a while, those crosswalks, but they are working now.
The pedestrian push button
Yeah.
ones.
Oh, yeah.
My next item, so this is Clackamas County's Transportation System Plan. They've just this week, I sat in on their Technical Advisory Committee meeting. So that first, it says end of summer, it was this month. That first blue kind of 3-person grouping, meeting was held this week. And so as you can see here, they've kind of got a timeline. I did a screenshot of this from their presentation. I didn't notice if they actually have this document on their webpage or not, but you can see they've got that PAC is a public advisory committee. And so that group will meet 5 times, and they are actively seeking applications for that group. I think Audrey even made a slide here through September 29th. And then they'll select their committee by October 6th. And so I think we can, next time we've got an email coming out to you guys, we can include the link. You can also find it just searching the Clackamas County Transportation System Plan Public Advisory Committee.
I assume there's no conflict of interest of us serving on both, if we wanted?
Yeah, I don't see any. I can provide some updates as we move through the process. One of the things that the county does with their TSP is they very much divide it urban and rural. So they really don't look at anything within city limits. They really focus on their unincorporated rural areas when they do their TSP. There is some coordination with each of the cities, and I think almost every city has a seat at this technical table, so it's a very big table. And we'll kind of work through that. I sat on their last TSP update, I think 12 years ago or so, when they did their last one. Although I was not representing Oregon City at the time, so.
That maybe leads me into a question I was going to ask and may not be applicable now. If you're saying they don't focus on inside the city limits, I know last time Vance presented the evacuation plan routes, and I know when we initiated that conversation, it really stemmed out of the fires and the evacuation. What they came back with was, here's your evacuation routes and here's a map, without any real planning or how to move things forward or how to avoid the gridlock that we had previously. I was hoping that we might be able to affect the TSP for the county and maybe get some more involvement or more detail or some sort of coordination between city and county and state. But if they're only focusing on rural, is that kind of a moot point then?
I think we could bring it up. I mean, I know on their technical advisory committee, they have a handful of staff from their Health and Human Services. I think that's their department. So really taking a health-based focus to their transportation system plan, and providing that feedback from those folks that deal more in the health realm.
Okay. I was just a little underwhelmed by what they came back with. Like, we all kind of knew what those routes were inherently, so identifying and highlighting them on a map doesn't really help the actual
I think
process.
some of the work, and again, Vance sits in a lot of this as well, but some of the work I've heard is, with that last fire, it got big fast. And instead of really being managed at a local level where the county staff would have leaned on their transportation group, they would have made those communications with the impacted cities. They brought in, professional fire managing teams that do this, and they elevated the fire much quicker, and it did not give the agencies time to participate in, identifying evacuation routes, any kind of ability to adjust traffic signal timing. And some of those things, just taking a half a step back and, does all of this area need to go to a go now? Can we do this in a smaller group, get them cleared off the roads, widen the area a little bit more? So those are some of the things I've heard in some of their follow-up work. We do continue at the city to participate in regional coordination, both on a kind of active disaster management perspective, but also this week I sat in on the Regional Emergency Transportation Route Planning Group, which is a group that goes beyond the Portland metro area. It picks up Marion County, Clark County, all the way over Columbia County, and it's really a bigger group and really looking at, so this quarter we focused on identifying those key priority 1 routes. In a small event, access to an airport might not be as critical, but in a large event, if the only way to get supplies into even like the state are those airports, making sure that all of the agencies that are responsible for clearing roadways know that, if they're coming in through the Portland airport, if they're going to come in through a smaller satellite airport that maybe didn't sustain damage, and we can get some kind of, supply delivery. So there's a lot of different like in an earthquake, probably many of the roads are not gonna be passable, right, in a full Cascadia event. And so then like each event is different, right? A fire evacuation is different than, you know, an earthquake versus a flood. They all have different parameters. So in each of those different groups, you know, disaster management, emergency management, transportation focus groups, we each kind of do different pieces and eventually they all kind of come together.
It's good to know they're working on that.
All right, so we will get you this link if you guys are interested, and then we'll bring back updates as the process moves forward. Our traffic counts are getting ready to kick off. So I think we've shared before, we used to do traffic counts every 3 years in the whole city. We switched to a little bit easier method of doing about 1/3 of the city each year. Makes it a little easier for budgeting. It's a consistent budget amount. It's not up 1 year, gone for 2 years. You know, my finance department's like, what do you got going on here? Can't, you know, so balancing it out. It also helps with the firm that does our traffic counts by having a small work component each year versus everything 1 year. And we're pretty picky about our time frame. We don't allow the traffic counts to start until the community college has started, which pushes us all the way to the end of September. We want to make sure we're understanding the volumes from the college. And then we want them done before Thanksgiving because we don't want to be into that Thanksgiving, you know, holiday season. So this helps. So this year, we're really kind of focused on kind of that northern and downtown section. And so you'll see, I think there's some out on Malala Avenue, which actually isn't even on this map. So I'm not sure what those ones are for, but I saw those in the middle of the construction zone this week. That's weird. So maybe there's a project happening out there that's looking for traffic counts. So they're usually out for 2 or 3 days. It takes a little while to get the data back. Our GIS staff takes a good look at those. The firm that does the counts for us kind of does the first glance and notices often some anomalies, so they'll go back out and redo a roadway. We then have our GIS staff kind of keep an eye on it as well. She's picked up a few that seem a little off. They'll go out and redo those, but the counts do going off. Speed, volume, and classification. Look, Audrey's already on it. And so we get the volume, type of vehicle, and then those speeds. And then we do have an app on our webpage. You can find all of these. You go to, I think it's GIS maps and file. There's a whole little, it's like an app or a dashboard, maybe. I can't remember what they call it.
I could send that follow up.
All right, and then I am gonna do my best to walk you guys through the annual pavement maintenance report. I gave Vance the night off, so I'm gonna do my best. So this is a report on the 2024 calendar year. So if you noticed paving in your neighborhood this year, it will not be in this report because it's a calendar year report. So we did a handful of streets in 2024, some work downtown on 10th Street, picked up a handful of neighborhood streets. I think actually mostly neighborhood streets back in 2024. I'm not going to read you each street name. I think, in my opinion, this is the more impressive page. So that first page is the work we contract out. This is the work that our streets crew does in-house. Between the equipment they have and the staff and the skills they've been able to build, these are all the streets that we have paved in-house. So it's almost $130,000 in asphalt. If we contracted this out, we would pay much more than that. So they've really been able to take on a lot more streets. And again, as an example, they finished up their 2025 paving. There's a little bit of budget left and the weather is still holding out. So they're adding streets. They're picking up more things. So I think next week they're gonna be paving Center Street between 12th and 14th, down by corner 14 along the trestle.
Nice.
So does the city own their own the mixing plant, or how do they get the asphalt mix?
Our crews drive the dump truck over and pick up the asphalt
Okay.
and then bring it back. So it becomes all hands on deck when we pave. Everybody's got a job to do, between truck driving, running the paving machine, the rollers, traffic control, all of the pieces, so.
How much longer is this list than it was in 2024? And it estimated, how much longer do you expect this list and the grand total to be greater in 2025? Ballpark. I'm not asking for specific numbers.
I
but-
think we budgeted closer to 130,000, maybe 135,000 in the asphalt line for each of the next 2 years. I think right now their constraint is the number of staff. So we hire a handful of seasonals in our streets department. They don't usually come with a CDL, you know, they're usually not certified for flagging. So again, they help because they can, you know, be moving traffic control around and helping out, but they're not driving the dump truck, you know, picking up the asphalt. They're not running the main equipment. So I can't speak for Jason, but I believe he's kind of implied the constraint is how many full-time employees he has. So. This is a big, long list of all the streets to get the slurry seal. So that's that, I think, Tim, you were kind of hinting at that, that thin surface that makes it look like a new roadway. The crew will come out typically the summer before and do the crack sealing. So those, you know, wiggly lines everywhere, there's a crack, trying to seal the roadway up so that when we come back with that slurry seal layer, it's nice and sealed up. I think they look at doing that about every 7 years. And that does a good job of extending the life of the pavement so that we don't have to come back and do a full asphalt treatment.
Is this Mr. Thornburg's crew too that does this in-house, or is this contracted out?
We do the crack sealing in-house, but we contract out the slurry seal.
Okay.
And we piggyback on Hillsborough's contract for procurement purposes. So we get a good deal because I think 4 or 5 agencies jump on Hillsborough's contract, and so we all get a better price because they're, you know, bidding on a bigger package. And I think Audrey's gonna correct me if I'm wrong, I think we put the list of the streets for each of these on our webpage.
There, if you look up pavement maintenance, you'll find a website, and each year I update it for what we're currently doing. Yeah, they're all there. And as we know, 2026, we'll publish that version. I think were you asking, Raymond, how much we were budgeting for the asphalt this year? Was that your question, or was it different?
Yeah, I guess I was trying to create a graph in my mind of like, what did it look like last year versus this year versus what we can expect next year? Because
Oh, I see.
Dana alluded to maybe an increase year over year in terms of how much we're doing in-house. So it sounds like it's a gradual increase, not a dramatic increase.
I think a couple of years ago, we were budgeting more like 100, maybe 115, and we've bumped it up to more like 135.
But now we're
And
bumped
so-
up against that
Yeah.
work
And this-
capacity.
So for the staff report that we submitted for this year for approval of asphalt, it came to 117,000. And I think it's usually like a 3% increase is kind of what Jason plans for.
Is Malala Avenue scheduled? No, we're talking like from the, not sure what that street is, it cuts over by just to the hospital, just by the,
Division.
Dutch Brothers, or Dutch Bros, you know, going southbound towards, I guess we'd say before you get to Safeway. I mean, that's a rut.
So Malala from Division to Warner Milne is scheduled for paving in 2026.
Okay.
That corridor has 70 ADA ramps that need to be rebuilt. So that work will start July 1, and it'll take a little while, but late fall we'll pave.
So they can do the ADA ramps, the ones that are not in compliance along there?
It's
coming
almost
to
all of them that are not compliant.
Yeah. So hopefully if you're doing that many, you'll get a good rate, because you got a lot of work there.
Yeah, so that is essentially the entire paving project next year is that one corridor.
So they're gonna tear it down to the sand, you know, the gravel layer, because it's got so bad ruts in there. I don't know how that they can get it beefed up
I
with the heavy
think we're
traffic.
looking at a 2-inch grind and an overlay. When that roadway was built, it was built with a thicker base, which sometimes folks will call perpetual pavement. And so it's a really thick base. And so we can usually just grind off that top layer and put a new 2-inch layer on.
So next year we'll be riding smooth down all the way down all of that.
Late fall.
Late fall.
By 2027.
next year.
You can skateboard down.
From Beaver Creek down to the college is great. But once you go north of Beaver Creek, it's a roller coaster. Yeah.
Yes. That, I think, is the last slide.
The only question I had, I forgot to ask you, so what is the overall cost of the Holcomb improvement sidewalks for the safe school? Did we get the final tab on that, or close to it? What we,
Yes, I don't know it off the top of my head. So we should be, I think we've made probably close to the final payment. We still have some negotiations with Lumen that we need to complete for the additional costs that their delay caused the city.
right, for that found utility lines in there? Yeah.
Yes, they were asked to move the poles by a certain date and they didn't. And that's what caused the delay on the city's project.
Did we send all that back? They were last ones off. Did we send that cost over to PG for being last one off the pole?
I would have to check. I know we're pulling together kind of those final numbers from the contractor on those delays that were from that. We had a little bit of, I think we had some Northwest Natural work that also caused some small delays. And so making sure that we're being very careful to combine or separate out the cost for the Lumen delays versus the Northwest Natural delays, so that it's very clear on
So
that.
it was Lumen, not PG, that was last off?
It was Lumen.
Oh, okay, okay. Good deal.
So we're getting to know those flag people pretty well. I don't know where they moved to, but they would sometimes go like this, because like you're on time or you're a little late. I mean, I see the same ladies every day.
Yeah.
Like, how long was that project? It was supposed to be done last August, but
It was a lot longer than expected.
yeah.
One little quick question, not necessarily related, where are we at on ODOT and their budget, and where's that currently?
Related to the special session.
Yeah,
Let's see. So they opened the special session late August. I'm gonna get this It's in process. So there's a couple of committees in the House and the Senate. It's made it through one committee in either the House or the Senate. I think they're scheduled to come back September 17th.
Okay. Still in process.
Yeah, so still in process. I think the one amendment that I heard that occurred to the bill was that the payroll tax has a sunset. And so that payroll tax is paid by the employee on their pay stub. So it's currently 0.1%, and this would raise it to 0.2%. Don't quote me on those. It's something,
Well, it's doubling it.
yes,
whatever
it's
the-
doubling it, but it's got a sunset.
I thought it wasn't, okay, because they're talking more about the employer cost. But I didn't realize they were gonna also hit the individual payrollee.
I believe it's the payroll one that you pay on your paycheck. So it doubles, it has a sunset date. That funding is for transit.
Sounds like an HOA assessment.
So the transit funding is not resolved.
Okay.
It's a very small Band-Aid. If the state package is supposed to be a Band-Aid, the transit one is a Band-Aid for 2 years, and then the Band-Aid gets ripped off.
Sounds like a plate in your leg.
Any of our current projects that would be affected by that funding where we're in conjunction with ODOT, or is all of our stuff in-house to where we're not
No, I think
relying?
for ODOT, it's really their operations funding. It's not project focused. It's really the 600 staff that have been
The day-to-day.
given the layoff notices that it would support. The bill as submitted includes the 50-30-20 split. So that is the way that gas taxes are split. 50% goes to the state, 30% to the counties, and 20% to the cities. So if it does pass, there would be additional transportation funding that would come to the city.
Okay.
Currently, our budget is balanced with the funds that we already know and anticipate with the current gas tax. So we did not adopt a budget hoping the legislature would provide additional funding. Our budget is balanced on the revenue that we would expect with the gas tax today.
Thank you.
Talking about ODOT, are they gonna be here at next meeting?
They have not confirmed yet. I think I need to wait till it's closer for them to be able to.
I'll talk to you offline.
Okay.
I have somebody I was talking to today, or was today or yesterday, that works with ODOT, that knows all the, because she asked me who's coming. I said, I don't know. But she says, I can give you a list of anybody you need.
Okay.
So she works for ODOT, but she's an older person. Actually, somebody actually drives
Okay.
around all the time, so, all the friends we can help, get somebody here.
On that same trend, any communications, things we want to get on future agenda items for our next meeting?
There was some discussion last time about maybe interest among the group in like what sidewalk projects are coming down the pike now that we've almost completed Holcomb. It sounds like Malala is going to be rebuilding those sidewalks, or at least getting the ramps up to ADA standards. But
Yeah, it'll do just the corner ramps.
I don't know if there's a presentation, or maybe it's just, that's it. That's all that we know of that we're able to budget for next year. Or maybe we have a plan, for what's the 5-year plan, I think was the question that was asked at the last meeting for sidewalks and, getting.
Is there a PMUF type report for sidewalks?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, what are, there's a lot of sidewalks that are gaps in the system, right? And when you talk with people and you say you're on TAC, oftentimes they're like, what are you all gonna do about the fact that I can't walk to the school, or
So are you talking about existing being resurfaced,
Exist-
or are you talking about like infill of where there isn't one?
Where there isn't one, yes. Yeah, because, I mean, I don't want to get into that can of worms
Yeah.
of like, yeah.
Conversation was around the safe school stuff.
Responsibilities of property owners to maintain their current sidewalks. We were not interested in that as much, just like what's the future planning for building new routes? And that was the question that came up last meeting.
You know, sidewalks and bike lanes, because if I remember, I thought safe school routes meant we were working on safe school routes. I didn't know it was the name of a project. And so I was just talking about, like, if you went, we'll just say Gaffney Lane to Gardner, it's a hodgepodge of sidewalks, bike lanes, and there's not a clear path for those kids that do choose to ride the bikes. I know there's a bus system, but there are kids that like to ride or people walk. So that's kind of what we're talking about. Is he was saying that, is there a plan to start patching in some of that stuff, or?
And I know, Dana,
Nothing
you're
happened.
always on top of the potential grants in the system that are out there. Is there anything in our future horizon that might aid to that?
So the Safe Routes to School program is what funded the Holcomb project. At the time I applied for that grant, Holcomb was our only Title I school. So a Title I school, they used to define it by the percentage of students that receive free and reduced lunch. I believe all schools are still offering free and free lunch. And so I'm not sure how they're scaling that. But when I did the Holcomb one, Holcomb Elementary was our only Title I school. So in order to qualify for that Safe Routes to School, you can submit a non-Title I school, but the amount of points you get is so tiny that you would have to wait for every Title I school to work through the funding program to be able to get enough points. I do typically set aside in the budget some money for sidewalk infill. If some opportunity comes up, I don't currently have a specific project. In the past, we've often tried to jump on the PMUF project. So this year in our 2025 PMUF, we paved Warner Milne. We looked at adding, there is one piece of missing sidewalk in front of the church on the north side, between the PGE property and kind of the commercial area. And we looked at installing that missing link of sidewalk. That required the removal, I think, of a 60-inch white oak tree. And so it was sidewalk versus tree removal, like which do we want? We took that decision to the city commission and they supported keeping the tree versus installing the sidewalk.
So we are looking at those hand in hand as kind
Yeah,
of, okay.
and so I think we did some paving over by Gardner Middle School and we installed some sidewalks with that project. I know we did some, I think it was Central Point, maybe 6, 7, even 8 years ago, where we did some paving and were able to add in a chunk of sidewalk. The reason adding the sidewalk with the paving projects makes a lot of sense because we already have that concrete contractor doing the ADA ramps, and so adding it into that project is usually a pretty good deal. We haven't looked at kind of doing a standalone sidewalk infill project. Have about $500,000. Doesn't buy us much, so it'd need to be a very small project. You'd be paying a premium for mobbing in for a small project. So I think, opportunities where maybe a developer's putting in sidewalk and there's just a very small piece missing, and we can contribute and have the developer build it with their work, is things we've looked at in the past. Most of the sidewalks are not within that dollar amount that I have set aside.
Are we building up that amount year over year to where it becomes something that if we do a later project, or are we redistributing those funds?
Well, right now, we're collecting as much of our gas tax money as we can to fund the 213 and Beaver Creek project. So I'm hoping to get the design contract out for that within the next few months. I anticipate probably a 2-year process working with ODOT on that. So that project would take Beaver Creek westbound, so thinking about like Maple Lane or the kind of coming from the golf course, coming westbound on Beaver Creek, and then that right-hand turn onto 213 northbound. And right now you can kind of cut outside the signal, but you have a yield line. The project would take away that yield line and build a third lane on 213 so you could accelerate up to speed and then merge in. So it's about 2,000 feet of acceleration lane, and then be able to merge in. So that would address the morning problem. So if you use that movement in the morning, it backs up quite a ways. So right now, I think I've got about $6 million set aside for that project. And until I get through a design phase with ODOT, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. So a lot of our transportation projects are just very large. And I've kind of shared a presentation in the past at various times about how we prioritize transportation money. And the first priority is a match on a grant, right? So right now I've got a commitment, and I honestly don't know if we shared this with you guys yet, but we submitted a Metro Regional Flexible Fund application for the design phase of McLaughlin Boulevard from 10th to the tunnel. And that was officially awarded by Metro at the end of July. So that money is for 2028. So now I, set aside that match money, which I think was about $1 million match. So when I can, use it as a match for a grant, if I can partner with somebody, so the RRFB on Lynn Avenue near the police station and Gardner, that was a shared project where the school district paid for a portion and the city paid for a portion. And so we were able to come together and kind of partner and pool our funds. Other examples of kind of partnering was the Myers Road Extension, where the community college was a financial contributor to that project. And so anytime I can leverage other people's money, I take all of those. And so then it kind of becomes, what's left of that, match money. And I've got 2 grants that are still pending that I'm waiting on that are transportation focused. One would upgrade the remaining traffic signals with those reflective backplates and address some of our pedestrian push buttons and ADA accessibility. And another one would look at, so you might recall a few years ago we had both a fatality and an injury at Malala Pearl intersection. And so we did a safety review. We identified what I would call the low-hanging fruit, things that are low cost, quick and easy to implement, and we've taken care of those. The remaining, $1 million worth of improvements has been submitted for a safety grant. So that one is pending.
Thank you, appreciate that. Any other future agenda items? If not, we'll go ahead and be adjourned.